a dent in this universe. Otherwise, why even be here? The only way to do great work is to love what you do. These are a few famous quotes by Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. He once said, "Today, I'm going to tell you 3 stories from my life." The name of the first story was Connecting the Dots, and that is the story I'm going to be retelling here today, Connecting the Dots. I dropped out of Wheat College, but after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for the 18 months or so before I really quit. So why did I drop out? It all began before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed college graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates. So everything was set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a baby girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We have got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother never graduated from college and my father never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. And this was the start of my life. 17 years later, I did go to college, but I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. All of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. 6 months later, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was spending all of the money my parents saved their entire lives. So I decided to drop out and trust that it will all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and start dropping in on the ones that were far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I did not have a dorm room, so to sleep on the floor in friends' rooms. I used to return Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposit to buy food with. And I used to walk 7 miles across town every Sunday night to just get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it, and much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you an example. Wheat College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instructors throughout the country. And since I had dropped out and didn't have to go for normal classes, I decided to drop in on a few calligraphy classes. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the space between different letter combinations, and about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, and artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, as we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. We designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I never dropped out in that single course, if I would have never dropped in that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computers would have them. If I would have never dropped out, I would have never dropped in these courses in college. And personal computers, they might not have the wonderful typography they do. Of course, it is impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. You have to trust in something, karma, life, destiny, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it takes you off the well-worn path. And that will make the difference. Thank you.